This is ESPN on ABC.
Welcome to NBA Countdown, presented by Chime.
Every time I pop out, it pop off.
One of these teams is going to punch their ticket to the Western Conference Finals.
God, son, they call me son, ain't no son of me. Ran 100 M's to run a thing.
You're the leader of the team. You got to come out and set the tone.
I can't let you try to vote if you get C6. Oh, my goodness! Edwards! Oculus VR, that's how I see.
You know, go out there and try to win. That's the only mentality. That's all I know.
I pop up high.
Oh, my goodness!
Whatever nobody says, I'm going to live and die with us as a unit, us as a whole.
Jim buckets!
You know the vibes.
The Warriors, they stole home court, splitting the first two games on the road. But as the series shifts back to Chase Center, it's hard to say they have an advantage when they will be without their best player. Jimmy Butler, he's been nicknaming himself Robin, but with no Steph Curry, he'll need to play Batman and carry Golden State when it matters the most. Really, they're going to need everyone to assemble, because standing in his way, Ant-Man. When a series is tied at 1-1, the winner of Game 3 goes on to take that series 74% of the time. The stakes could not be higher, and we're here to get you set on ABC.
NBA Countdown on ABC is presented by Chime, the #1 most loved banking app.
I'm really out for blood this time, look.
Edwards on the drive, goes inside.
It was the biggest game of our career, so I think we needed it really bad. We all want 30 back.
Obviously, things get tougher if we got to go forward without Steph, but it's the same mission.
Welcome back to NBA Countdown, presented by Chime.
It was a relatively innocuous play, but it cost the Golden State Warriors, who will be without Steph Curry in a home playoff game for the first time since 2018. As you can see here, he strained his hamstring in Game 1 and is set to be out at least 1 week, so he will miss tonight's game. Here he is, the moment, right, that he hurt that hamstring. So for the latest on his recovery, let's bring in our senior insider, Shams Charania. Shams, we don't have history to rely on because Steph's never had a hamstring injury
in your team. I want to see him actually lead without Steph Curry on the floor. Like, go do that. Like, it's easy to be a leader when you got a guy that could go out there. We talking about an all-time great you're playing with. But when he's not on the floor, what are you going to do? What are you going to bring to the table in between the lines? That's what I want to see out of Draymond Green.
And that's what we get to see right now. Guys, it's time, just like Rudy said, for us to go get loose. It's tip-off in Chase Center. Now, Dave Pash, take it away.
Big Hurt? I never called you Big Hurt.
Thanks, Malika. A spectacular day in the Bay Area for a pivotal Game 3 in San Francisco at Chase Center, as the Warriors try and inch closer to a return to the Western Conference Finals, looking to go up 2-1 on the Minnesota Timberwolves. But without injured star Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler must fill the scoring void, has a history of coming up big in these situations throughout his playoff career. A tall order, though, against a very talented Wolves team led by Anthony Edwards, the 4th leading scorer in the league this season, and the resurgent Julius Randle. Winner of this series moves on to the conference finals to face either Denver or Oklahoma City. Denver up 2-1 with Game 4 tomorrow on ABC. And hi, everybody. Dave Pash, Tim Legler, and Katie George. The Warriors have 4 more days before they'll reevaluate Steph Curry's hamstring injury. So he's not going to play tonight. He's not going to play Monday. May not play in Game 5. So a lot more on the shoulders of Jimmy Butler, known as playoff Jimmy. But the Warriors' legs, they take play in Jimmy, because his best game with the Warriors was in the play-in game. They wouldn't be in this situation without it.
We know the success Golden State has had since Jimmy Butler's arrival. The numbers back that up. In the playoffs, he has been solid, at times very good, but he was sensational in that playoff game, the one that you're referencing. And I think the reason we put that up there, it might take that kind of performance out of Jimmy Butler in this game against a very good Minnesota defense. Jimmy Butler knows he can't just pick his spots in this one. He's got to come out aggressive, put numbers on the board. The question is, Dave, who else is going to be there to help him?
With more on that, let's check in now with Katie.
Well, Dave, ever since the Jimmy Butler trade, these Warriors thought that things were going to go extremely well, and it did. Now, without Steph Curry, Steve Kerr says everything has to be thrown out the window. That's why he played 14 guys in Game 2. He was searching for a new rotation. Now, he said despite the loss, they learned a lot about who to play with who and when. Look for Trace Jackson-Davis to start and Jonathan Kuminga to get more run tonight. Kerr believes their energy and their athleticism can make a difference because it can't be all left up to Jimmy Butler. He's got to get help somewhere, Dave.
All right, Katie, on the other side, Minnesota survived a scare as well with Anthony Edwards going down with an ankle injury in Game 2. But he's not on the injury report. He's good to go, Legs. His numbers aren't gaudy in this series, but he's had a lot of help, in particular, Julius Randle.
You feel like Anthony Edwards is due to go off. He's really only erupted once in the postseason offensively, despite having very good numbers. You see the three-point numbers. That's really where he's come back to the pack. The attempts are down. The percentage is down. Feels like Anthony Edwards might be due for one of those big nights, but he has had a lot of help from Julius Randle. His co-star has been unbelievably consistent throughout the postseason, and I believe has actually played his best basketball in a Timberwolves uniform in the playoffs.
Winner takes a 2-1 series lead with Game 4 Monday night. Game 3 from Chase Center. Lineups and tip-off next.
The NBA Conference semifinals on ABC are delivered by Chipotle. Real ingredients, real flavor, Chipotle, for real. And in part by Ford. This presentation of the NBA playoffs will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
La 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 la. Yo, what's the deal?
Timberwolves an impressive Game 2 victory over the Golden State Warriors.
We know this series will get tougher and tougher.
Without Steph, the formula goes out the window.
We all miss Steph, and until the end, we can hold down the fort.
You're the leader of the team. You got to come out and set the tone. It was the biggest game of our career, so I think we needed it really bad.
Breakaway, two-headed slam. That might do it.
This is not the team to be overconfident versus. They have championship DNA.
This is how it works. We have to respond.
It's Game 3 between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors as we welcome you to the NBA playoffs presented by Google. It's the conference semifinals delivered by Chipotle. Gorgeous day in San Francisco. The two best road teams in the playoffs the last 2 years. The Boston Celtics and the Minnesota Timberwolves. That held true for Boston earlier today on ABC, getting back in this series with the Knicks. Minnesota 8-3 in the playoffs on the road the last 2 years, trying to go up 2-1 on Golden State. Starting lineups brought to you by Popeyes, the usual five for Minnesota, with 18-year pro Mike Conley, joined by Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert. A different starting five for Golden State. Steph Curry missed Game 2. They went with Quentin Post as the center. Today it's Trace Jackson-Davis, his first ever playoff start. Green, Butler, Heel, Pajemski, the other four for the Warriors. Jimmy Butler has 8 career 40-point playoff games and 1 playoff game where he scored more than 50. That is exactly the same amount as Steph Curry. Butler's very capable. We'll see if he does it here tonight. Draymond Green, one of the top defensive players in the league. He finished 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year honors. A big reason why they won Game 1 and were able to hang on after Steph Curry's injury in the second quarter. Anthony Edwards injured in the second quarter of Game 2, sat the rest of the half, came back, played the entire second half. He's been a second half guy in this series, just 8 first half points. We'll see if that changes tonight. And Julius Randle missed the Knicks playoff run last year due to injury. His first year in Minnesota, it feels like that Towns for Gobert or Towns for Randle trade has worked out very well for both teams. And Steph Curry said he was devastated when he suffered the hamstring injury. The first injury to his hamstring he suffered in his 16-year career. It's just his 14th career playoff game that he's missed. The Warriors are 9-4 without him in the postseason. No sweeps in the conference semis. It has been as entertaining a round so far as any we've seen in a long time in the NBA playoffs. And we're just getting started. We got game 3 tonight, a couple of game 4s tomorrow, and a doubleheader Monday night. Game 4s in New York and back here at Chase Center. Scott Foster, David Guthrie, Mitchell Irvin, our officials, and we're ready to go for game 3. It'll be Randall guarding Draymond Green. Jimmy Butler will be